This piece is called the infinite equation of the fifth mind step. This painting, sculpture, relief is an interactive sculpture. There are multiple sides of each of these blocks which can be rotated and moved so that this is like a learning interactive sculpture, an experience that basically takes what I've been working on my whole life, and it's kind of like the singularity. I have the singularity in there. The idea that we're consciousness moving to a point where we can transfer our consciousness into a machine to do it. But see, we've been doing the singularity for hundreds of years, for thousands of years. Basically, we take our knowledge, our information, we put it, that's where books come from, that's where paintings, that's where science comes from, where basically we are transferring everything we know into some sort of a medium. As an artist, this is the singularity for me. What I'm doing is taking every word meme, it starts from like 10 years worth of research on what I consider to be the essential vocabulary for 21st century mastery. This idea that when you know the 17 equations that change the world, when you know what the 5 most beautiful equations in the world are, when you know the memes like the Duckworth grit score, for instance, or telephony, or intelligent direction, or ocular centrism, or esoteric, or a deterministic linear sequence, or the Sawyer effect. All of these things are part of a vocabulary that is what will drive the next innovations and this idea of mind steps. So back to the infinite equation of the fifth mind step. Gerald S. Hawkins in 1983 wrote a book, Mind Steps to the Cosmos. And this, like Alvin Toffler's Third Wave and a couple of other major books that were kind of futuristic, this idea of how technology and human mind space would develop, he had this, he went to a notion of 5 mind steps, and the last mind step being 2054. What's really fascinating about Hawkins' empirical mind step equation is that it's not only followed like Moore's law, which is another thing that I have in here, what I think is an essential meme, but this idea that each mind step would be coming closer. So we have one that's in 2032 and we have one that's in 2054. He, in 1983, talked about things that would be seemingly impossible, that would seem unimaginable, like the idea of a cell phone, like the idea of what he mentioned as memes. So beyond radio, telescopes, TV, things bringing us closer to reality through an artificial medium, he saw things like Facebook, Snapchat. And this was 30 years ago that he saw this evolution of technology, that it would not just be in our objects that we make, but it would be in fact in these solutions that would be like human technologies, I think is the best word that you can adapt to these. So when I created the infinite equation of the fifth mind step, this was everything from the XOI principle to kind of the essence of all of my work. Meaning, I started with 88 words and word memes, things like mastermind, deterministic linear sequence. I also went through 50 years of spelling bee words, trying to extract what were the words of a high self-concept. Not just that they were the spelling bee winners, but words that have a relationship that one word added to Webster's, like FOMO, fear of missing out, are more than words, they're memes. And when you get this collection of these things, it becomes a certain kind of a vocabulary that you need to understand, to make the shortcut of where we're at and what's possible. The future is in these memes. So while I was working on the whole sculpture, this piece, something kind of cool happened. It was Valentine's Day, and my wife gave me a Ask Google, this new little artificial intelligence app. And it just was like a light bulb going off, because everything I'm working on here is really this kind of first generation of what can continue in its multiple generations to really understand why this is kind of a vertical Rubik's Cube, or why this is kind of like a piece of, where I talk about the singularity, where I'm putting these ideas into a format where it's like a teaching sculpture. It's like an interactive thing that you figure, how many times would you have to look at the 17 equations before you knew them by heart, okay? Unless you had a photographic memory, you know, what is the process there? At what point would you learn these things? And so, as all the words came together, all of a sudden, I'm asking this new Google thing to play music and some things, and all of a sudden, it's something dawned on me, and I'm going, wait a minute. Hey Google, what is a semaphore?
Semaphore, a system of sending messages by holding the arms or two flags or poles in certain positions according to an alphabetic code.
Okay, Google, what is the Duckworth grit score?
Sorry, I don't understand. How to help with that?
And that was the question right there. Okay, Google, who is Angela Duckworth?
According to Wikipedia, Angela Lee Duckworth is an American psychologist and popular science author.
Now, at the point where I asked the questions and it was not answering, there was a function that's not there, which is, okay, Google, can you learn this and remember it? Which is no.
There's something I've been wondering. This seems like the time to ask. What's your favorite pizza topping?
So the point is recursive self-development. Okay, Google, what is recursive self-development?
Okay, I'll remember that.
Okay, Google, what is recursive self-development?
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
Okay, Google, then what is recursive?
Recursive, characterized by recurrence or repetition, in particular.
Recursive self-development, the idea that machines that start to learn will continue this learning until they become self-learning, and this is self-recursive automation. Transferring that into a human meme, at what point will this understanding of this essential vocabulary help create the framework for this, MTP, massively transformative purpose? To me, this could be the most important 3 letters on this entire sculpture, because what serves to further our MTP is what my art is about. Massively transformative purpose. If I can find through art a massively transformative purpose, it's a win. I've achieved my goal. All of the words, all of the things, as I'm developing them, it's an ongoing target to develop this set of words that really set up this foundation for a high self-concept, set up this foundation to take on and expand your vision. So when I'm looking at the XOI principle, it really goes to this lifelong ambition to define synectics. R. Buckminster Fuller defines synectics as a process of discovering the links that unite seemingly disconnected elements. The word synectics comes from the word synecticos, which means bringing forth together, or bringing different things into unified connection. It's a fascinating kind of a grid, and this, in terms of abstract mathematics or abstract reasoning, Synectics is really the word. I mean, this really is the 21st century meme that is yet to be discovered. The idea of the Fibonacci sequence will continue to follow every major breakthrough in mathematics, in my mind, for the next 100 years. It will still be one of those basic concepts of how the universe is strung together. And like I say, mathematics is always right. It's only our interpretations that vary. Mainly what happens is the memes of science move forward. What happens is that it's not a new law that exists in nature, it's a new way of understanding this law, how it exists in nature.